What's up, YouTube? I'm Troy. Welcome to the channel. Well, as you can see, it is cloudy and overcasty, and it snowed about 6 inches last week, and it has done nothing but melt all this week because it's been pretty warm. So the spots that we want to go to, we can't really get to right now. Too muddy. People don't like us on our property when it tearing it up and all that good jazz. So today I thought we'd take maybe a little trip and go check out a teepee. A real life teepee. Plane it, hang out in it, see what you think. All right, let's head up to South Fork and let's go. One of my good friend's houses, and we're here to check out his teepee and explain a little bit about it and how it would have been back in the native times. All right, so this one is a 20-foot teepee, and we'll just talk a little bit about the design here. This is a crow design. You can tell that by the shape of the front door. We'll show you that here in a minute. With a Blackfoot theme. So, and the way you can tell that is bottom section here represents the ground. The middle section is either an accomplishment, a dream, or a vision. The top is the sky. So down here you can see you got the ground. These are like these little puff balls we have around here. They grow up and you can blow on them. They're like a huge dandelion or whatnot. Yeah, you won't be able to see it. It's kind of tough. And then here is a dream. Got two bears here. There's one on this side and one on the other side with the sun in the middle. They're coming towards it. That was a dream his wife had. Pretty cool. And then the sky. It's got the different moon phases on it. Constellations up top. You can see the poles. The poles are 5 feet longer than the teepee. You can range them anywhere from 2.5 feet to 5 feet taller. So, yeah, come on, let's go around the front. So we got one pole here, one pole we moved around to the back. Those two control the smoke flap. So you open them up, you walk it around. Here, we can walk this one around. Just grab it, walk it around the teepee. Then on really windy days, they would have two cords set up, and you tie them down and stake them down so they don't move. But you can adjust those in and out depending on which way the wind's blowing, which way you want the smoke to leave. All right, let's go check the inside out. Like that. Double door, keep the wind out, keep the rain, the elements. Now back in the day, this one's canvas. This one's about, I think, a 15 ounce, so it'll last anywhere from 5 to 10 years if you just leave it straight up in the Wyoming weather and whatnot. Normally they'd be made out of buffalo hide, deer hides, whatever they could sew together at the time. Probably buffalo hide. That's probably the thickest and the most resourceful part that they had. Here we have rocks. They would generally set their poles on rocks here to keep them up off the ground so they didn't rot over time. You know, they'd use these and drag them from place to place. For horses, I think they used dogs. Strap them onto the dogs. Women would pack up to camp and they'd take off. Winter time's coming, they want to get off the mountain. You know, they could tell winter's coming because the equinoxes and the solstice that we talked about in the first video, which is interesting. As a must, it's pretty smart to think of that. They obviously knew that they would go bad. And they would use stakes as well out of, you know, branches or logs or whatever have you. But all right, we got her open here. Let's check out the inside. And this does open up all the way, so you know you got those, you know, the big guys. But in the wintertime, it'd probably just be best if they kept it down here. All right, so now we're inside, and you can see there it's fairly big. It's got a lot of room, a lot of space. Back then, they would have had, instead of a fireproof floor, they would have had buffalo rugs and skins to keep it warm and insulated in here. Fire pit in the middle. They used to have solo stoves and camp chairs. No, I'm just kidding. But they definitely did have couches. But anyways, you'd sit on the ground, and it's really warm. I've been in here when it's been negative 10 degrees outside, and in Wyoming, if you know anything about it, the wind is always blowing. So they have these, which is a wind catch, because actually this goes down on the ground, and then the teepee rings that you see out in the wilderness or out up in the mountains that you always see on TV, or maybe you've seen them yourself, are actually these rocks. And it holds this down and their floor, and that keeps the weather from getting into the teepee. The wind will come up here and go straight out the top. And that also creates your airflow for your fire and keep it from being smoky. Now, if you're in here and the wind changes, or it's blowing, say, out of the north or out of the south or what have you, that'll prevent the smoke from going out. So then you just go outside with the flaps that I showed you, and you just adjust those, and it'll bring that smoke right back out. It's pretty amazing how it works. And yeah, like I said, minus 10 degrees, and it stayed almost 65 degrees in here with just this little fire. And they probably would have had a way bigger fire ring, and about 10 of them in here keeping it warm. Smoking to peace pipe. All right, over here we have, you know, they had cord. They had I think they used deer, buffalo ligaments, you know, vines. They had all kinds of stuff. So they were pretty inventive. Got stakes here. We probably would have used sticks or have you. And so when the rain comes down and it hits these, it doesn't soak up your cord. And it goes straight down to the bottom. Hits the rock, dissipates out. Prevents the rotting of your wood. So you've probably seen petroglyphs on TV or other videos. If you had, a lot of them did down south. They do a handprint. There was two types of handprints that they used to do. One, they would take paint, round up flowers and all kinds of stuff, and then they'd smash their hand on the wall or inside their teepee. It's kind of like leaving their mark. Each one has a different. This style, I can't remember exactly what it's called, but they'd take it up and they'd put it in their mouths, and they'd put their hand up and go, and it would make this, and then it had the perfect design. It's pretty. But here's all the people that have visited the tent, or the teepee. It's a mandatory to do it. All sorts of little designs. I'm sure they would have done that back in the day. And this one's interesting. That guy's finger must have gotten cut off. Oh, wait, that's me. Yeah, it's very comfortable in here. Very well thought of that they thought of this. Now there's a specific number of poles in all of them. I believe it's 12. I'm not 100% sure on that. I'll double check. But there's the three main ones that you start out with. A north pole, a south pole, and a door pole. And you put the north and the south pole together, and then you lay the door pole on it, and you can just walk it up. It has a specific notch in there. They wrap their twine around it, keeps it all locked together. And you just walk it up, set it up, and then you just lay the rest of them on top of it. This is the north pole here?
Yeah.
This would be the north pole.
And then that cord wraps around all of the poles on top. Let me see if I can get a shot of that, which holds them all together. Yeah.
And I'd imagine when they're putting the buffalo hide or the canvas up, they had a rope. Was this connected to that at all?
This is called the lift pole right here. So the lift pole has the furled canvas attached to it. So you lean the lift pole up, and then you unfurl the canvas on both sides. And then it's secured with the teepee pins in the front.
And when you lay them out on the ground, they almost lay into like a perfect circle. So it wraps around here. And it's nice and tight. Even in the wind. And the wind blows around here. It blows a constant 20 probably for the most part. But it'll get to 50 or 60. And I've been in here when it's been just ripping. And this thing's almost super quiet. But I can imagine sitting here on the floor. You know, the further you stand up, especially with, you know, your heat will get, you will lose heat. But it doesn't get anything, nothing that you'd really notice. But if your fire was on the ground and you were laying around it on your buffalo rugs and snuggling with your old lady, you would stay really warm in here. So also, you know, they'd have 2 or 3 families in these. You know, they're big enough. You know, the more people you have, the warmer it is. You know, also, so what they would do is they would hang a buffalo hide, like say up here, and then they could span it to over here, or say over here, however they wanted to section it off, and that would hang down. And then you have your own little bedroom, your own little apartment within a home. You know, the families were decent, so when you're snuggling at night and all bundled up, you stay plenty warm. One of the frequently asked questions is, do they get water in them from the rain? Well, they do a little bit. But when you have a fire going and it's going straight up, it burns a lot of that off before it even hits the ground. But they also they would take a buffalo hide or probably a deer hide because it's smaller, and they can drape them over that top as like a canopy. And then it dissipates. It acts a lot like a diffuser for a fireplace.
Yeah. Tell us about the red rope over here.
So this red rope over here, this is the rope that you use with the 3 poles together. There's a notch that they put in there that keeps the poles tight. Well, you wrap this around them, and then when you stand it up, and then you lay all your other poles in here, and then you walk this rope around the teepee, circle the teepee 4 times, 5 times, however many you want, however long your rope is. And that ties them, cinches them all together and keeps them all pinched, and then they won't go anywhere. I mean, this thing it's solid. It's not going anywhere. And then you come down here and you just tie it off. So, also, back then they used to have like treadmills, and they'd run, and then they had electric. You know, they put these little light bulbs in here, and then you can see at night. No, I'm just teasing. We added this, they're all the LEDs, have power in here, electric, so we have a radio, and we get along and jam. It's pretty good. It's pretty fun sitting. But yeah, 10,000 years of engineering, you know, they figured works pretty good. Still to this day, you can see them all over the places. People obviously probably don't live in them still, but this has been up 2.5 years, and every wintertime we'll get winds from 80 to 110 miles an hour. And we haven't moved it, haven't touched it, and it's still just as good as the day it is put up. Just as good as the day. Yeah, the nice thing about it now, if you buy a teepee, there's plenty of places online. This one came out of Billings, Montana. But you buy them, one of the things they do recommend is a solo stove, and they help really good. As far as the heat wise, you have to have a displacer here. It keeps the heat down a little bit, but I've been in here for 6-7 hours at a time and not used a third of this pile. It's very efficient. Now with the one on the ground like they would have, you'd probably go through the wood a little bit faster, but it would definitely, you know, it'd probably be bigger, so there'd be a lot more heat. But I'm telling you, this little thing keeps up. this whole thing, and they're very well insulated. And you think about it, in the wintertime there's snow, and snow is a great insulator. So, I don't normally sit on this side. This is usually my side over here. This is my seat when I come. But yeah, you sit right here. You actually got to scoot back a lot of times because the heat pushes. It warms you up. Warms you up a lot. Air conditioning. One of the frequently asked questions is air conditioning. They didn't have air conditioning, obviously, but any breeze comes up from the outside and comes in. And you can close that as well. Leave it open a little bit so it'll keep that cooler air in. Or you can open it up and there's your air conditioning. It's snowing a little bit out. You can see it coming through.
Yeah, it is snowing. And also, they also rolled up the side of the teepee, right? And let the one side of the teepee cast the shadow for shade. And they would just roll up the side of the teepee. And
like
so
an
they
awning.
would, yeah, like an awning. Yeah, like
That
a
makes
awning.
sense. They're multifunctional. You know, you set up hunting camp. A lot of guys use wall tents. You know, I think probably just sort of a little more mobile. But if you were at a hunting camp for a couple months, this would be the way to do it. Honestly. Yeah, cook on the fire, open fire. Don't have to mess with the stove. I just put a pit right in the middle. But next time you see teepee rings, you can imagine what was on top of it. This was on top of it. Well, all right, there you go. There's a tour of the teepee. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you'd like to see more stuff like this or whatever else you'd like to see about Wyoming or the things we do, drop a like, subscribe, let me know what you think. See you on the next one.